Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuhu. My name is Nurjana D. Adir, reporter from chapter 3. So, ang topic ko po ngayon is about domain 2, which is affective domain, and domain 3, which is psychomotor domain. So, ang affective domain refers to the way in which we deal with situations emotionally, such as feelings, appreciation, enthusiasm, motivation, values, and attitude. So, ang affective domain ay tumutukoy sa paraan ng ating pakikitungo sa iba. So, kagaya ng ating pag-uugali. At ito rin ay tumutukoy sa bahagi ng learning objective tungkol sa tono, emosyon, at antas ng pagtanggap o pagtanggi. So, the taxonomy is ordered into 5 levels as the person progresses towards internalization, in which the attitude or feeling consistently guides or control a person's behavior. So, at ayon din sa taxonomy, ang affective domain ay may 5 antas, at ito ay ang internalizing o characterization, organizing, valuing, responding, and receiving. Internalizing, practicing value system that controls one's behavior, exhibiting behavior that is consistent, pervasive, predictable, and characteristics of the person. So, internalizing has a value system that control their behavior. The behavior is pervasive, consistent, predictable, and most importantly, characteristic of the learner. Instructionally, objectives are concerned with the student's general pattern of adjustment. So, personal, social, and emotional. So, the example of internalizing is shows self-reliance when working independently and values of people for what they are not how they look. And the keyword of internalizing is discriminates, influence, and listens. So, let's proceed to organizing. Arranging values into priorities, creating a unique value system by comparing, relating, and synthesizing values. So, the organizing is organize values into priorities by contrasting different values, resolving conflict between them, and creating a unique value system. So, the emphasis is on comparing, relating, and synthesizing values. And the example of this is recognize the need for balance between freedom and responsible behavior. Then the keywords of organizing is compares, defends, and formulate, and etc. So, valuing, showing willingness to be perceived as valuing or favoring certain ideas. So, the worth or value a person attaches to a particular object, phenomenon, or behavior. So, this ranges from simple acceptance to the more complex state of commitment. So, valuing is based on the internalization of the set of specified values, while clues to these values are expressed in the learner's overt behavior and are often identifiable. Then the example of this is demonstrates belief in the democratic process. or insensitive towards individual and cultural differences. Then the keywords of valuing is differentiates, explains, and follow. Then let's proceed to responding, showing commitment to respond in some measure to the idea or phenomenon. The responding, active participation on the part of the learners, attend and react to a particular phenomenon. So learning outcomes may emphasis compliance is responding, willingness to respond, or satisfaction in responding, or motivation. And the example of this is participate in class discussion and give a presentation. Then the keyword of responding is to assist, discuss, and present. So now let's proceed to the last part of affective domain, which is receiving. Being aware or sensitive to something and being willing to listen or pay attention. So receiving is the lowest level of the affective domain. It is simply the awareness of feelings and emotion, and it involves passively paying attention and being aware of the existence of certain ideas. So without this level, no learning can occur if information is never received and cannot be remembered. So the example of receiving is listen to others with respect and listen for and remember the name of newly introduced people. Then the keywords of the word receiving is as, identifies, and describes. So now let's proceed to domain 3, which is psychomotor domain. So psychomotor domain refers to the use of motor skills, coordination, and physical movements. So the psychomotor objectives are those specific to discrete physical functions, reflex actions, and interpretive movements. So traditionally, these types of objectives are concerned with the physical encoding of information, with the movement, and with activities, where the growth of fine muscle are used for expressing or interpreting information or concept. So this area also refers to natural autonomic responses or reflexes. So this contribution from Simpson, Dave, and Harrow have been reorganized and simplified into 4 levels, which is the adapting, practicing, imitating, observing. So adapting, fine-tuning the skill and making minor adjustments to attain perfections. So adapting is making a minor adjustment in a physical activity in order to perfect it. And the example of this is the skill is perfected. A mentor or a coach is often needed to provide an outside perspective on how to improve or adjust as needed for the situation. So practicing, performing a specific activity repeatedly. So practicing is trying a specific physical activity over and over. So the example of practicing is performance is moving towards becoming automatic and smooth. And the keywords of practicing is construct and measure. Then now let's proceed to imitating. Imitating attempt to copy a physical behavior. Then the example of imitating is show understanding and do sequence of steps with assistant or recognize one's limitation. The keywords of imitating is begin, move, and react. So now let's proceed to the last level of psychomotor domain, which is observing. So observing active mental attention to a physical behavior. So observing is active mental attending in a physical event. So the example of observing is the learner watches a more experienced person or other mental activity such as reading may be a part of the observation process. So the keywords of observing is watch, differentiate, and describe. So that's all for today. Sukran for listening.